Our next speaker is Mr. John Mangano, who is the Regional Marketing Manager for International Paint, North and South America Marine Coatings Division. The presentation of his title is Carbon Credits, a Marine Industry First. John Mangano is the Regional Marketing Manager, North and South America, for Akzo Nobel's marine coating business and has been with the company for 16 years. Prior to his current role, John has worked as a technical service representative and as an account executive for International Paint. John graduated from the State University of New York Maritime College in 2000 and has an unlimited tonnage third officer merchant mariner's license. John also holds a master's degree in corporate finance. John.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to talk to you about the exciting world of paint. And I'll try to do my best to keep it in the time that I have allotted. But I'm going to apologize up front. I'm an Italian from New York, so I talk with my hands a lot, so please don't let it distract you. But what I'm going to talk about is carbon credits, and I don't know if you've all heard about carbon credits, but we make certain different products which are very, which help reduce fuel consumption, environmentally friendly for ship owners. However, sometimes, and as we heard yesterday, these green technologies have an upfront cost to get involved. So it's how can we help our customers incentivize them to use green technology and get them into green technology and maybe offset some of the cost. So that's where the carbon credits come in. It's a program that we started now a couple of years ago, and we have many different vessels from all different vessel types involved in this program. And I'll take you through. So what did we do? We worked with the gold standard. Gold standard is number one in their industry for creating methodologies for carbon credits. And it's a unique and pioneering methodology. It's the first for the maritime industry ever. Typically, these are based for power plants on land. So this is the first time it's going to take into account moving articles of ships and ships that move between location to location. So not just maybe in the U.S., but U.S., China, Australia, wherever. So it's the first of its kind in the maritime industry at all. And we've won some awards now for this our So really generate the carbon credits is how do you save fuel, right? So this our product called Intersleek, which some of you mentioned yesterday, it's, for lack of a better term, it's slick. It reduces friction of the ship going through the water, and thus you need less power to push the ship. Thus you save fuel. If you save fuel, you save CO2. So this is where this comes into effect. So if you can save fuel, it's an independently verified system by external auditors. So it's not Akzo Nobel International Paint going into the ship owner and saying you're going to save 10%, 6% fuel. It's independently audited. So it's not them providing the data. It's not us providing the data. It's independent, and we can validate those fuel savings. Like I mentioned earlier, they're rewarded for doing this green technology, and it's a new source of finance. You'll see, I'm going to get ahead of myself, but if you've read the maritime press, we've now received the carbon credits and we're selling them on behalf of the ship owners, and one ship owner is going to get $500,000. So I mean, it's substantial amounts of money that this can add up to, depending on the ship type and everything too. And potentially, if any of you follow the shipping market is depressed, particularly the bulker market, because of trade with China is down, so the bulker market's down, and even certain tanker markets are down. So customers are not necessarily interested or don't have the funds to upgrade into green technology. So this helps them generate some additional revenue to offset those costs associated with it. Now, this only works with Intersleek. It's our product Intersleek, and it doesn't work with competitive products. So the methodology is to us and our product Intersleek. Now, 1 carbon credit equals 1 ton of CO2 saved. And 1 ton of fuel, to confuse you even further, 1 ton of fuel is about 3.3 tons of CO2. So if you save 1 ton of fuel, you get essentially 3 carbon credits. Oops. So who is the gold standard? As I mentioned earlier, they're the best in their industry. They're UN mandated, and they really focus on getting these methodologies out there. and their governance falls under the Kyoto Protocol. So they're the best in their field, and the great thing about them is that their carbon credits that are issued with their methodology earn higher dollars than other companies that issue the methodology. So we trusted in with them, right? So it's really, the gold standard met up with Intersleek the way we look at Intersleek. So we look at Intersleek, when you look at a product from cradle to grave, so the impact it has on the environment from when it's mined to when it comes off the ship X amount of years later, it has the best eco-efficiency score when you look at it. So it has the less amount of impact on the environment from trucking and mining and the application costs to a ship. So it sort of fits all these different environmental sustainability and an energy reduction because you're going to use less fuel. So how does this process work? So a ship owner converts their ship to Intersleek technology. The ship owner then provides us, so we can provide to the auditors on their behalf, the data of the ship for the dry dock period, usually 3 to 5 years, prior to the Intersleek application based on noon reports, because every day a ship has to provide a noon report. Then the data is analyzed and a claim is submitted through the gold standard. We do this for the customer. All the customer does is hands us the data. The next thing they see is the money. They don't get involved with any of this behind the scenes work. So the independent auditor verifies the results. The gold standard then validates and issues the carbon credits. And then the credits become available. So what is it? The credits become available to us, and then the owner tells us what they'd like to do with those credits. It's either we'll sell them on your behalf and give you a check, or some people say, you keep the money, give us a paint credit, we can do that, or they say, give us the credit and we'll offset our carbon emissions with the carbon credit. So the baseline data is determined for those time period prior to the Intersleek application. So the ship, if it's a 5-year dry dock, we take the 5 years prior to the dry dock, and then we take the 5 years after the dry dock. And so you compare year 1 to year 1, year 2 to year 2, year 3 to year 3. And what you're going to see is, as the 5 year progresses, as the traditional biocidal antifouling gets worse, it roughens, the ship needs more power to then power itself through the water, its fuel usage goes up in years 4 or 5. So you'll see that someone's carbon credits potentially get more in year 4 and 5 than they are in the previous year. So you have your baseline here. Then we get the noon reporting, and we look at the data. And you say, okay, there's a difference there, and that's your daily fuel and your CO2 savings. And then that's sort of how it's calculated. So as I mentioned, you become qualified when you put the Intersleek on the vessel, and you can claim that for the whole dry dock cycle of the vessel, depending on what it is, 3 years or 5 years. But really, you become ineligible to claim carbon credits once you've then recoded at some point in the future. The other thing that would make you ineligible is if you put Muse ducts or Boss caps or something else like that on the vessel, then you can't tell where the fuel savings is potentially coming from. So then you would become ineligible. But the interesting thing is sometimes people don't necessarily have the money to paint the whole ship, so they do just the vertical sides and leave the flat bottom. Well, in 3 years from now or 5 years from now, you decide you want to coat the flat bottom. Well, now you can start reclaiming carbon credits again. So you can essentially at some point be claiming carbon credits for many years and taking that money, which is paid out on a yearly basis. So really, there's not much from the owner's side to participate. They just have to agree to provide the noon reports. We sign a confidentiality agreement that says we're not going to share your data with anybody else. We're just going to give it to the auditors. When it's all done, it gets destroyed. And really, that's it. From an owner point of view, it's very interested to participate. And then they have to provide the noon report data. And then we'll take care of everything behind the scenes. There is many people say, well, I have to invest in electronic monitoring systems, which are very costly and expensive. The way this works, it's simple. It's just a noon report. Ships have to file a noon report every day. So the ship owners or the charterers have it. So it's an easy way to do it. Now, the great thing is really anybody can do this, and it's really, we'll give the carbon credits to whoever the owner tells us, but it's generally whoever paid the check to fund the interfleet. So here's just some data that we've looked at, an example taken from our first submission. This is a tanker, and you can see how it increases as the years go on. And this isn't just because intersleek has gotten better, it's because the other antifouling that they had on previous has roughens over the time period, which then creates more drag, which then you have to push harder and faster to make the same speed, and this you're burning more fuel. But you can see this total claim, it's over 30,000 credits. And here's on a RoRo, you can see it's about 13,000 credits, and again, over a 3-year period, the carbon credits have substantially increased over the years. So this is all independently verified. This is not our data. This is independent. So we took an owner. This is Grimaldi lines. Now this is what we call, this is our Intertrack system. As long as a ship has an IMO number, we can go in and I can tell you where that ship's been, how long it's been static, how long it's been active, how many sea miles it's traveled in the past X amount of time, and the speed, and where that ship's been, a high fouling challenged area, low fouling challenged area. And so we can look at the trading pattern of the ship, which then allows us to then potentially prescribe the best antifouling for that vessel. So if we look at this piece, this is the Grimaldi lines. They put on our intersleek to the whole ship in 2013. They've got a 12% fuel savings. And that's not us, that's the independent data. And that's compared to our highest end biocidal antifouling. So it's a 12%. So 12%, you know, if it was 10% and the ship burned 50 tons a day, that's, you know, 5 tons, which means that's 5 times 3 carbon credits. It's 15 carbon credits. So it's substantial. So they're going to get, just for this vessel, they'll get a good amount of carbon credits. So these are really, it's just a voluntary basis. If people don't want to participate, they don't have to. We don't beat them up to do it, but we really encourage people that have ships that they can participate. Now, this is not new. If you have a ship that's already coated with intersleek, from 2010 to now, you can retroactively claim carbon credits. So it's not, this isn't from today going forward, this is in the past. So we can retroactively take people back and credit them or get them carbon credits. Now, one of the things you can do here is you can retire if we gave you the credit, you can retire it to offset your own carbon emissions. Some people do that. It can be sold, so we'll sell it on your behalf. Now, the little caveat is because we have to pay all these auditors, we take out an administrative fee. But there's no profit in it for us, we just cover the cost. So we'll pass on the check to the owner. Or if you want to pass it on to your customer and donate it to them to help them offset, if you're a tanker operator and you want to donate it to Shell or Exxon, you can do that. And it just clearly defines in the contract of who you want us to, or what you'd like us to do with your carbon credit, and we'll pass it along. And generally they're shared with the ship operator, ship owner, depending on who they tell us to do this with. And then here's the disclaimer, like I mentioned, we'll take just to cover the cost of administrative fees, because it is expensive, it's time-consuming behind the scenes, analyzing this data, getting it submitted, audited, verified. So then always the question is, who buys carbon credits? Well, these are the companies that buy carbon credits. I don't know if anybody here flies KLM, you can go on and you can buy a carbon credit to offset your flight anywhere in the world. KLM buys carbon credits. So we sell them through a broker, and it's just like a stock. Right now, carbon credits are probably in the $6 to $7 range per credit. So you can see all these companies are buying credits to offset their emissions. So there's quite a bit of interest. And the funny thing is, these brokers who buy these, they're looking for innovative carbon credits, believe it or not. So there are no carbon credits out there for ships and green technology. So there's a I don't want to say anxiousness, but there's an excitement of people to buy these carbon credits because they're first of their kind that relate to ships and have an impact on the shipping industry. So what's the status? So we've got all the first set of carbon credits, so about 126,000 credits we have, and they've been issued to us, and we're in the selling process now of offloading these through the brokers so that we can provide the money to our customers. Now, if you read the marine press, there's been a lot in there with the press that we've gotten the credits, and now we're in the process of selling the credits. And you'll see, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, someone from our company giving a $500,000 check to one particular owner for all the carbon credits that they've received. And you think about this, these 126,000 carbon credits equals 40 tons of fuel savings. That's 40 tons of fuel that's not used. And it's an $8 million in fuel savings at today's prices. Now, if you think about if every ship used this technology, the amount of impact it would have on the environment as far as CO2. Now, shipping is still the most environmentally friendly way to move cargo from point A to point B, but still, just think about the impact that this could have if everybody did it. So we have a Greek tanker operator who's going to receive 15,000 credits. They've asked for the credits themselves, and they're going to do something. I don't know what they'll do with it, but they're going to do something. They didn't ask for the money. The Italian ferry ro-ro operator, they're going to get over 92,000 credits, and they said, show me the money. So they want the check. And we're looking at a brokerage price of about $6 per carbon credit. We're hoping to even get more, but that's about the price. So, 6 times over 100,000 credits, 120, talking about over $750,000 that we'll be able to give back to owners who have invested in green technology, who have upfronted the cost, and they can recoup some of that cost over the life cycle of the ship. So it really, this is probably my last slide, but there's a lot of benefits to helping customers engage in green technology. It has benefits everybody. So not only do they get the fuel savings and the great environmental impact because the Interfleet doesn't put any biocides into the water, they're reducing their CO2 and they're getting paid to do it. So I mean, it's a win-win for everybody, it's a proven method, and like I said, it's just an external source of revenue for some of these customers. And many people think it's voodoo, and it can't be. Where does this money come from? But it's legitimate process, and we're going to prove to everybody when we give the money out that this is legitimate. This is the first claim. I believe the second claim we have about 35 to 40 ships. Once you start putting more than 40 ships into the claim, it becomes difficult to manage because there's just a lot of data, and sometimes these independent auditors want to board every ship, and it's hard to board 40 ships, because you never know where they're going to be. So, particularly as they get comfortable with the process of the carbon credits. So, and that was my last slide. Seemed to be right on time. Thank you.